Morning, guys, and how are you doing today? Benji is just a simple guy, all those things they said. I'm just a truth teller. I cannot stand the deception and the lies and everything that is our politics. So we're doing our part to have the real discussions in this country, to have the real agenda in order to realize real change. So it's very nice of all of you to come this morning. I'm not going to say much, I'm just here to moderate actually. But when we talk about WTO, World Trade, the first thing that comes to my mind is, and that this is like a recurring theme for me, for those of you who've gone to my many events here and there, and my many media interviews, both on TV and radio. My recurring theme is, you know, our poverty. The reality of 90% of Kenyan payroll being under 50,000 shillings a month. The reality of the top 1% having the same worth, all right, the top 1%, the top 0.5%, having the same worth as 25 million Kenyans. So those disparities. The lack of opportunity. The fact that it's so difficult. One of the young guys, I think Kevin asked me over the tea break. Access to capital. You know, because money is almost everything. When you're doing a business, and I think Tanya will talk more about this, so I talked about business the other day. When you're doing business, the difference between you and your competitor, when you're opening a shop, or a supplies, or a factory, or any of those, is the million shillings that they have that you don't have. And I'm not saying that ideas come for nothing, and human potential and energy doesn't come for anything. But if interest rates are 30%, and the environment is not good, then how are you really going to realize profits? And this is a good topic because Kenyans are very ambitious. This is one of the reasons why we have a lot of corruption. It's not because we're so bad. It's also because it's so hard to get real opportunity. And so people go in there and you feel, okay, I only have 4 years, I only have 2 years to be a minister, to be an MP, so let me eat now. And sometimes even if you don't, your relatives, your people in church think you're a fool. They'll be like, look at her, she's a minister. Sasa kona nini? So these are the realities that no one talks about. People talk about, oh, we're going to pass a new law, or we're going to take action, I direct my government. This is just talk. And it's talk while we have a lot of problems with a growing youth that are tamarking, that have no access to jobs. And politicians just use these topics to get some votes and then they don't care. So these are some of the things that, to me, I'd like for us to address. Crystal, when you do your thing here. Look at the interrelation between trade and poverty, and standard of living, and opportunity. Because what is trade for? If we're just going to talk about cute numbers here, and the World Bank, etc., but half of Kenyan families, 50 years after independence, sometimes are going to bed hungry. These are the real issues, and I was really happy to hear the Pope talk about this, because a lot of times I go to CAPSA functions, etc., and people talk about the barriers, ease of doing business, expansion, costs, etc. Nobody is really talking about wages, about the worker, about uplifting people out of poverty. If we're not uplifting people out of poverty, then what are we even doing business for? Think about that. So, in line with that as well, one of the things, for those of you who read my newspaper articles, one of the things that I've been very concerned about as well, frankly, since about 2011, which is almost 4 or 5 years ago, is national debt. National debt. If you borrow and borrow and borrow, well, how are you going to pay it back? And what are you borrowing for? These are the real issues, especially for people like you who are in colleges and university and who, in a country where so many are illiterate and poor, they depend on you to speak for them, to ask the right questions and to lead. So if we borrow a lot of money, and unfortunately that money, a lot of it is stolen, all right? I don't want to get too political, but if a lot of it is stolen, then you can see that, as I have said often, we put the future generations in jeopardy. Because Because if we eat Kenya like mahindi, right? In 20 years, where will Kenya be? These are the real issues. So when we talk about Anglo-leasing and Eurobond, etc., don't just look at the political side, oh, what has Raila said? That's not even important. For me, the important thing is not to please Jubilee, it's not to please CORD, it's not to please anyone. It's the welfare of the common man who walks to Industrial every morning, all right? Who pays taxes, who does his level. I think a lot of you guys on my Twitter, a few days ago, Mark Zuckerberg, the founder of Facebook, gave the equivalent of 4 times Kenya's GDP, at least, to charity. He's about, what, 30 years old? This is the kind of country we're talking about. I used to like to give the example of Mayor Bloomberg, the mayor of New York, whose personal net worth, in America has over 200 cities, is again the equivalent of the Kenyan economy. So even as you look at things like global trade, global justice, things like the ICC, are we really peers? Are we peers? It's a good thing to think about. I mean, if you look at it from that standpoint. What if you are from those countries? How would you like it if some guy from Sierra Leone had the same? And I'm not for or against, I'm just saying this is one of the objective ways to look at fair trade practices and what have you. And of course, yes, Africa has the resources for sure. The platinum, the gold, the everything. And so we provide a lot and we get very little back. But then, Africa also has some of the worst, quote-unquote, monkeys leading. So, when was the last time you heard an African leader stand for something even at the AU that was for the benefit of Mwananchi?